Hello, my Zentangle friends. This is Barbara Langston, CZT, Certified Zentangle Teacher, and welcome to another session of Not Perfect Zen. I have this little card here as a reminder that if you share your tiles, please tag me at BBL_tangles in your comments or description. And that way, both Instagram and Facebook let me know that you have done something from one of my videos. Okay? I really appreciate that because I love seeing what you do. And if you don't have Instagram or Facebook, some of my followers send their tiles to notperfectzen@gmail.com. And I love seeing what you do. All right. Today, I'm going to show you this pattern, Shasta. This is a page from my homemade sketchbook. This is disc bound, and there is information in all of my descriptions on how to make this if you're interested. But someone replied on the post for this page and said they would like to know how to do Shasta. So that's what I'm going to do today. Shasta is by, let me zoom in so you can see this. Her name is Plechdova Natalie. Not sure if I said that right. And on Instagram, she is arsenica.zen. And the only place I've seen the step outs is in the Tangle Patterns Facebook group. And on the step out, she mentions that Shasta is a blending of the patterns Cadent from Zentangle and Buttercup from Sandy, Steen, Bartholomew. So I thought it would be fun to show those three patterns. I actually did Buttercup on this tile in January. So if you wanted to see this tile with Buttercup on it, that is in my video list. And you're probably familiar with Cadent, but I want to show you real quick using my iPhone. Get it open. Okay. For tanglepatterns.com, and I'm doing this because I want to show you some of the ways that they do Cadent. In tanglepatterns.com, up here in this corner, and I'm going to increase the size of the menu. If you click on Zentangles, there is right here, Linda's list, and it says of official patterns. Click on that. And then that will bring you up a list of all of the patterns that Zentangle has so far. Again, I'm going to make that big and click on Cadent. And then what I want to show you is that Cadent right here, okay, is a link to the official step out, which came out in December 2007. And what I thought was interesting is that it was originally done with squares, and then the variations have the circles. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Tangle Patterns, and there is a link here to Margaret Bremner's site, and she does a thing called Cadent and then some. Okay, sorry about that. And I'm going to click on that. And I just love, there's several things that Margaret has done. And if you go there, you can see some of her ideas for various things that you can do with Cadent. And there's a lot. All right. And Cadent can even be done in a triangle. So I encourage you to go look at that. Here's another one she did, Cadent with a twist. Oh wait, that's not Margaret's. That one is from, and I wrote it down, Norma Burnell. Okay. Let's go back. And then this one again is from Margaret Bremner, Cadent Squared. And I know I'm going a little fast, but the reason I'm showing you that is that I did kind of a little sampler tile, and this just happened to be a colored tile that had been sitting in my drawer for a long time, so I took it and drew on it. So I apologize that it's not real easy to see, but it's kind of all of these different ways that you can do Cadent. And this is how you find it, is by going to, Tangle Patterns, and clicking on Cadent. All right. There is also, if you're interested, under tutorials, I have a tutorial on how to use the Tangle Patterns website, and that's right there. So we'll get this out of the way. We are going to be using a Zentangle 3.5-inch tile. And again, these are the patterns that I'll be using. And I will be using a Micron PN and possibly the Micron 01. I have the washi tape down there just to let me know that these are new pins. And a Graphic 01, possibly. And I'm sorry, I'm thinking while I'm seeing this. I may not use the Graphic 01. I think I used that on something different this morning. I was thinking I might need it. But right there, those are my favorite pens. A 01, a PN, a Graphic 1, our graphite pencil, a tortillon, also known as a blending stump, with a paper clip inside of it so that I can keep the tip a little bit more sharp, and possibly an eraser. All right, let's get started. I am going to start with corner dots. This always reminds me of the elegance of limits that is mentioned by Rick and Maria. And what that means is, instead of having a huge canvas that we're trying to add art to, we have just this small canvas. Okay, so I made these, the border, kind of straight. And what I'm going to do first is put a straight line across the center. It may not be exactly center, and it's a little bit bigger than the size of my pencil. Now I'm going to get my PN, and I'm going to go ahead and ink that in. I'm going to do Buttercup here in the center, and I'm going to get this started. And I'm going to find about halfway on here. And then divide this up again. Doesn't matter if they're exactly right. Okay, so now we have kind of 6 squares. And I'm going to switch now back to my pencil. And I'm just going to use this to kind of set the grid for Cadent. It's not necessary, but I just thought it was kind of fun to get these patterns to line up. And I'm going to put it just a little bit above this. And you see I don't have a perfect line. And now I'm going to divide that in half. I'm going to straighten this out just a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing down here. Just add a couple of lines. And then I'm following that grid. Okay, now we're ready. So we're going to start at the top with Cadent. And like I showed you in the beginning, the original step out used squares, but we are going to use orbs. So wherever there's an intersection here, I'm going to put an orb. Cadent is a fairly well-known pattern. I like using it because it's so versatile. You can do crazy cadent. Like I said, if you go to the newsletter where it was originally released, I believe 2007, it shows a lot of awesome variations. Go to Margaret Brimner's Cadent and Then Some, or look on the Mosaic app. Those are my favorite places to go to. Okay, so now we have this orb grid, and we're going to do what they often talk about as take off and land. And that means we have the orb here, and then we have another one over here. We're going to come off the bottom of this orb and make a curve, and it's going to connect to the top of this one. So we're going to take off from here and land on that one. Okay, that's what they mean by take off and land. So from the bottom of this one, curve. So we're going to take off and land. And I'm not going to make you hear me say that every time, so we'll just continue. I'm going to go on down to this line, come from the bottom, and curve up to the top. Again, there are a lot of variations that you can do with this. You can fit it in a lot of places on your tile. My lines don't match perfectly, and that doesn't matter. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it and do the same thing. One thing to remember on things like Cadent is I'm not going to come from the top of this line because I would be crossing a line that's already there. We don't want to cross lines that are already there. So we're going to go from the bottom of this one to the top of that one. Okay, take off and land. And then finish with the rest of these. Okay, if you already know how to do this, you are more than welcome to fast forward to whichever section you need. Okay, but for making Shasta, she said her first step was following Cadent. Okay, and that's a very basic Cadent pattern, but I'm going to leave it there for now. We can come back and add more to it if we end up with extra time. So let's jump down here to Buttercup. And with Buttercup, we're going to put an orb in the center. And as you see, it makes just a really pretty ribbon. And then from there, she makes these squarish leaves to fit inside. I like having it come down just a little bit. Okay, and then you fill it in. And I'll try not to take too long. The other thing that you can do is to increase the speed on viewing this video if you need to. Okay, so and then you can just kind of fix this if you want to, and then we'll put little curves inside. That makes it look like a flower. Okay, so we're going to repeat that on all of these. Add some little squarish petals. Okay, fill it in. All right, and then we're going to put our little C curves there in the center. So this can be done in a big grid. You can do like I have it here as a ribbon. Sandy has, trying to think of the name. Oh, Totally Tangled, I think was the name of one of her books. She has several books. She has Yoga for the Brain. I actually think she has sold that name, but she still has the cards and things out there available, I believe. But she has really good books. Okay. Just kind of a square leaf. And I give it a little bit of a rounding. So it's not exactly square on the petals. Okay. And I will come back and clean this up a little bit. Add your little curves. Make the petals the way that you want them. I'm trying to do this without turning my tile. When I was practicing, it was turning it for every petal. And I'm sorry, that could make you dizzy, so doesn't matter. We're not looking for perfection. Just want these casual little petals on this ribbon. All right, one more. So give it just a little bit of curve down there. And then fill in around it. You can use that time to make these shaped a little bit better if you want to. And then add your little C curves. Like I said, I could come back in here and just clean this up a little bit. Oop. No mistakes, just curve it. All right, there you go. So here's Cadent and Buttercup, and now we're going to combine those to make Shasta. And for Shasta, she starts with orbs, but she fills them in. So on our grid, and it's not a perfect grid, we are going to start this just like we started Cadent. I really enjoyed playing with these. Again, Margaret Bremner has several pages where she has done, I think she has Huggins and then some. If you go to this link that I showed you from Tangle Patterns, I think in the sidebar there is a link to her and then some pages for other patterns. She's so talented. Okay, so I'm just adding these orbs onto this grid and filling them in. Okay, so now we're going to do the same step that we did up here. We'll do that take off and land. So we're going to take off from the bottom and go to the top of the next one. And sometimes fix those orbs if I need to. Oops, go to the next line. My tile is kind of bent. Okay, that's better. It was flopping up on that side. Okay, I'm going to go this way on each of these, just like I did on the top. All right, and now I'm going to turn it and do the same thing going in this direction. Come off the bottom and land on the top. Like I said, at this point, you're drawing Cadent. Okay, there you go. So the next step is we're going to put orbs in the center of each of these, but we're not going to fill them in. Okay, so it's going to end up an orb just like we had here. So in the center of each of these, we're going to add an orb. And the next thing we do is add lines from the center of that top line down to that orb, but not through it. And then we're going to put another line to the center there, and then that one's going to connect down to there and there. Okay, and then the next thing she does is a line down the center. So from the center to about the center of that line. Okay, now what I like to do, and I'm just going to turn it this way, is to go from that line down to the center of that one. And I just make a straight line, okay, between these, because they need to connect anyway. And you'll see as we get into it. From that one, and then down to the center here. I'm going to go from this one here, connect those, these. You can give it a little bit of a curve if you want to. And here. And then we're going to put the center lines here, and I'm going to connect these two, and then that one. Okay, I just found this to be the easiest way for me. All right, so we're just going to keep going till we have all of our lines connecting. Okay. The next thing she does is where all of these meet on the outside of your little cadent box, I guess is the way to put it, is we're going to add rounding. Okay, so rounding just means wherever you have a line and it's kind of straight, we're going to add a rounding to that. Okay, makes sense? Like that. So that's what rounding is. And we're going to add that rounding where these lines meet. Okay, when you get down to this one, you can just go ahead and add that rounding on the one below it and on the one next to it. And what I usually do is go ahead and get them all done, and then I'll come back and work on the shape if I feel I need to. And just keep going on each of these. Oh, not there. Go to the center where the orb is. Again, for me, this is a fun pattern that's easy to remember, especially if you already know cadent. Okay. And you can round these more if you want to. Back up to the top, center. This one's a little bit faster than that one. Not quite as much filling in. I really do like all three of these patterns. I think it's fun to see how they fit together, how one influenced another. Oops. Okay, no problem, just around it. Fill it in. Yeah, I wish that all of these step outs were available to everybody. I do post on YouTube on my channel, like I said, those pages that I've made for the 100 days of tangling from the Tangle All Around Facebook group. And I try to find the step outs. And I have thought maybe you could use a video on how to find step outs. If you think that's something that would be useful, please let me know in the comments. There are multiple pattern lists out there. Okay, so now we're going to go back and put those little C curves in the center. Or little wormy curves. Some of these are coming out kind of strange. It's okay. All right, so there you have it. Cadent plus Buttercup equals Shasta. Let's do some shading. Again, there are lots of things you can do with Cadent, and I would encourage you to look it up and just play with it. Have fun with it. For these, I'm just going to put a little bit of shading around the center. You don't need much because it's not a very big orb. Okay, and then with the tortillon, and I do say both tortillon and blending stump. A blending stump is actually more solid, like this, okay? Where this is rolled paper, but when I do the closed captioning, tortillon comes across as tortilla. So I also say blending stump. All right, we're going to do the same thing down here. And I will show you another page in my sketchbook. It has all my notes on it, but it's okay. I always do a lot of practice before I do a video. So a 30-minute video really takes a lot more than 30 minutes, but I enjoy it. Okay, so now we're just softening that around the center, trying to keep the center open. You could come back with a white jelly roll and put white in the center of that. I'm happy just to leave it like it is. Okay? So there we have it. So let me show you what I did for practice. So these are some of the various things that I tried. And then I actually put Shasta, or I guess you could call it Buttercup, inside of Cadent. I thought that was really cool how that came out. So, just some ideas. There's millions of ideas out there, but I'm going to leave this one like it is. I could go ahead and just put a little bit of shading up here. It just seems so bland. So let's add shading to the top and the left side, just very lightly. Okay. I need to be touching that line, not leaving a space. I have told you that I need to follow it myself. Okay. When you leave a space, like I did here, I don't know if you can see it well, but don't leave an opening between your pencil and the line that you're shading. It just doesn't look right to your eye. And I'm not putting a lot of graphite on there. All right, now I take my blending stump and just soften that on both sides. And this was just a, well, what if? What if I do this? Maybe it'll look good. So let's see what we think. You do with yours what you think you would like. This is your art. Yeah, that definitely helped. I didn't want to leave it just blank like that. And let's see. I do have a Jelly Roll tin. And let's see what you think if we put white in the center of these. And just make it pop a little bit. Of course, if you had that on a colored tile, it would show up even more. But sometimes it's surprising that you can tell, because this is not a perfect white. Kind of a little bit of an off-white. Okay. There we go. Let's do it up here. All right. Next thing we're going to do is add our chop. I don't know, can you tell? Maybe, maybe not. Add my chop down here at the bottom. Of course, I'm seeing spots. So what I was talking about, cleaning it up a little bit. See how that kind of just comes down almost straight? I want it to look just a little bit more curved. So, you know, just take that opportunity if you want to go in and fill in any white space that you didn't get the first time. You could do these bigger, and in the center of these big black dots, You could put a dot of white. All kinds of things you can do with your art. Just enjoy it. Okay, I am going to add my chalk. All right, and again on the back, I encourage you to put the date. You could put Kelly Bluen mentions putting a little bit of a journal note on there, what was happening. For me, this is the first day of daylight savings time. And just sign it. And one thing I forget to say is hold it at arm's length. Especially if you think, oh, I don't like how that turned out. Wait a few minutes, hold it at arm's length, come back to it later, and I always feel better about my work if I question it, if I'll come back and look at it later. All right, so there we go. A combination of Buttercup and Cadent gave us Shasta. All right, I appreciate the request and hope that you have enjoyed this. Hope you have a great week ahead, and I will see you next time. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this. Leave a comment. I absolutely love reading your comments. And subscribe, share, and come back next time. Thank you. Bye.